Pastor Sam for coming to be with us on SermonChat today. Pastor Phil is away, but he did preach on Sunday, and he was in 1 Timothy chapter 3, where he talks about the qualifications of deacons and what deacons are. So if you will, just enlighten us today. What are maybe the major or not major differences between a pastor and a deacon of the church? What are their different roles? Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, according to the text, the characteristics are very similar. Both groups of men are called, pastors and deacons are called to be men of character, honest, not given to sordid gain. The characteristics are the same or similar. The thing that is different is what we are called to do. The pastors, according to 1 Timothy, are supposed to teach. And then in other places, in 1 Peter, you'll find the governing, overseeing, shepherding part attached to that. So pastors are supposed to teach, govern, oversee, and then deacons are a separate group of men, separate office, and they are, according to Acts 6, we believe task-oriented. They are to do specific things that free the pastors up to do the work of ministry, to do the work of word and prayer, according to Acts 6. And so they are task-oriented. And those tasks can come and go. People don't realize that, I think. But you could have a task that needs to be done for the congregation, and you get a group of deacons, men, to serve and do that task, and then that task could be completed, and it could go away for a period of time. Here at Macon FBC, we have a group of men that serve regularly. We have some that rotate on and off, and they serve the church and task all sorts of different tasks, which are separate from the preaching and the ministry that the pastors do. And so they free the pastors up to focus on word and prayer, and so they do those other task-oriented things.
So applying those tasks where where a pastor's role is more of teaching and preaching to people.
Right.
So how do those two teams work together?
Well, I'll tell you, here at Macon FBC, they work well together. Many other churches, I would say probably every other church that I've ever been associated with, has not worked well. Most churches don't even understand the difference biblically between pastors and deacons. And what you have in many, especially small Southern Baptist churches, you have a group of men that call themselves deacons, but they usually end up doing partly pastor work. They try to oversee, they try to make policy decisions and guide, but you don't see them teaching. Hardly ever will they step into a teaching role, and so they're not pastors according to Timothy, because they don't teach, but they serve in some capacity. They try to serve as overseers, and then in many cases don't do the work of the deacons. So you have this hybrid group of men that are trying to do part of the pastor's work, but not doing what they're supposed to be doing as deacons. And so it doesn't work in many churches, but here at Macon FBC, it works really well. We have we have 4 pastors, Pastor John, Pastor Andy, Pastor Phil, and me, and we do the work of ministry. We pray, we preach, we teach, and then you have this group of men here at Macon FBC that serve as deacons, and they do all sorts of things, from taking care of our orphan closet to overseeing and making sure our widows and widowers and shut-ins are taken care of, overseeing the benevolence, so that when people come, people are confused. They come and they think that we pastors will give them money. But we don't ever touch the money, right? There's a group of deacons that are on the benevolence committee, and that they oversee any help that we give to church members or to non-church members. And most of the time, we don't even know about it. The deacons have taken care of that. And so by doing that, by serving in all these areas, they free us to do prayer and preaching and teaching. And so we work well together here at Macon FBC. And I'm sure many other churches would wish that they worked as well.
Right. Everybody understanding their role
right.
in the right place.
Yeah.
And so obviously we don't coerce men into becoming deacons or whatever, but there might be, maybe there's a man out there listening to Sermon Chat today who knows, maybe he's not said anything to anybody, but he knows that God is nudging him, or maybe pushing him a little bit toward thinking about becoming a deacon. What would you say to that man who might be struggling with that, as far as praying about it? And
well, I will tell you that every year we have deacon nominations. I think it's June. We ask the church to give us names of guys to serve, and routinely, when we go to these guys that the church has named, and we tell them the church, somebody in the church believes that you would serve well in this capacity. Many times the guys are very humble. They don't see themselves. They don't believe that they can serve at this level, and they try to get out of it. They try to not to avoid the responsibility, but because they see it as significant. They don't see themselves. Many of the guys don't see themselves as being able to do the work of a deacon, and so we have to encourage, sometimes beg, sometimes get them to at least come to the deacon training to see that, hey, this is something that I can do. And so if there's somebody out there that is contemplating serving as a deacon, we would encourage you to come talk to us. Let us explain to you what it looks like. Let you talk to some of the other guys on the different committees, because it's a great privilege to serve our church body in this capacity.